Hello, my name is Shaikh, and I'm presenting a study on a trauma-sensitive sport program that was adapted and tailored to newcomer youth, and evaluated using the REAIM framework. Children from newcomer populations such as migrants and refugees face high rates of trauma exposure stemming from experiences of abuse, neglect, family violence, persecution, displacement, and poverty. These experiences can pose barriers to youth's access to healthy developmental benefits, and as a result, intentionally structured sport programs can offer an avenue to combat social exclusion for these youth, foster a sense of belongingness, and help support youth to develop resilience-related life skills. In a trauma-sensitive sport program, coaches are trained in trauma-sensitive principles to support and interact with children in healthy and sensitive ways. And in line with principles of positive youth development, these coaches also redesign the sport environment to intentionally facilitate safety, supportive relationships, and high engagement, and teach resilience-related life skills such as decision-making, self-regulation, and seeking support. To guide the design, implementation, and evaluation of these structured sport programs, it's useful to refer to the REAIM framework. REAIM spans 5 dimensions to consider in program and evaluation planning, from understanding who is participating and what outcomes we're seeing from the program, to understanding who is delivering the program, how well is it being delivered, and what are the program's long-term effects. Given the limited research that has been done on sport programs for newcomer youth in North America, and the usefulness of REAIM to evaluate and map the processes and outcomes of these programs, the purpose of this study was to evaluate a trauma-sensitive sport program known as the Bounce Back League, using the REAIM framework. The Bounce Back League, or BBL, was run by BGC Canada, which is a national youth-serving nonprofit organization. The BBL was developed by an interdisciplinary team of trauma-informed experts, BGC administrators, and evaluation consultants. A tailored and adapted version of this program was piloted to newcomer youth, but open for all children to attend. 5 clubs hosted weekly after-school programs in 1 to 2 hour sessions, and seasons lasted 6 to 8 weeks, covering different sports like basketball, baseball, hockey, soccer, and fitness games. In this program, staff from the 5 clubs attended an online training workshop facilitated by our team, and received training manuals to learn BBL principles, design, and coaching strategies. The staff then facilitated the program at their home clubs, and throughout the seasons, the managers attended a bi-weekly advisory meeting to discuss their experiences, facilitators, and barriers to program design, engaging youth, and co-constructing strategies for cultural sensitivity. Throughout the project, all phases were monitored and evaluated. So data were gathered or generated through several qualitative and quantitative methods. These included observations of advisory meetings, pre-post training surveys on staff's knowledge and attitudes, logbooks filled out by staff as they implemented program sessions, report cards filled out by staff on each of their participants, and program-related documents and reports. Various analytical methods were used, including descriptive and comparative statistics and qualitative description methods, which were mapped on to the REAIM framework. From here, the results showed from the 118 total people that attended, only data were collected from 58 youth. And so from these numbers, 54% of the youth were boys and 44% were girls, aged between 7 to 12 years old, and youth on average attended 58% of the total BBL sessions that were offered. For effectiveness, the staff evaluated each club member on a range of characteristics related to their willingness to engage, their comfort with peers, and different psychosocial developmental life skills. So overall, the staff felt that the club members increased on these factors from the start to the end of the season, and this difference was significant. In terms of those life skills, there were some written responses that were provided by the staff on their club members' participation at the end of the season, which were coded and categorized under representative labels. Most commonly, coaches noted consistency or improvements in children's positive participation in terms of, again, willingness to engage and their interest in sport. They also noted psychosocial gains in children's confidence in friendship building and gains in physical and sports skills. On the other hand, some club members faced attentional difficulties or self-esteem and confidence issues throughout their BBL participation. In terms of adoption, we had 20 staff from 5 clubs attend the training workshop, and all staff completed pre- and post-training workshop measures for us to understand how well they adopted trauma-sensitive knowledge and favorable attitudes towards trauma-sensitive work. Staff here, on average, improve their knowledge and attitudes from pre to post, most notably in trauma-informed sport knowledge, which increased by 40%. Implementation across the 5 clubs became a story of transition and adaptation. All the programs were subject to the constraints of the pandemic, which influenced the nature of the programs being delivered from week to week. Some programs may have started with an in-person sport like soccer and then had to transition to virtual sports or an entirely new cohort of kids. However, regardless of adaptations, staff felt that they delivered BBL to the best extent that they could, rating their adherence and quality of delivery highly across BBL structural and practical components, ranging from managing club members' behaviors to facilitating the integration of sport to life. This result points to the feasibility of facilitating BBL practices across different delivery modes. Clubs also reported challenges. In-person programming, it was sometimes hard for them to maintain the structure and safety between dynamic activities in a social distance and constrained environment. And for engaging children virtually, staff reported difficulties in children having access to BBL online sessions and language barriers when interacting with families. In maintenance, many staff shared their desire and intentions to continue BBL at their clubs. However, doing so to a high level of quality would depend on having the right supports from BGC or other resources, both instrumentally and financially. Initial insights of the value of newcomer sport programs were gained from this study, and so youth seemed to respond positively to the program, make connections with others, and were observed to develop psychosocial skills as well. Such findings are in line with other studies done with sport programs targeted to newcomer populations using youth development principles. As well, the BBL structure and design principles that staff were trained on remain feasible for them to implement despite having to adapt and change around the programming. The study also addressed calls for more work with diverse samples from club to club. There was variance in sports and locations and newcomer cohorts, both culturally and linguistically, and this helped to generate a variety of experiences and insights to inform our knowledge of designing culturally sensitive youth sport. Now, we were limited by COVID in our evaluation. We couldn't visit club sites in person or conduct creative evaluation activities with youth, and staff and members in general were overburdened and fatigued by COVID. This points to the need for integrating evaluation activities into existing practices rather than as an add-on, and scaling back evaluation to only collect data on what is most pertinent or relevant. This work generated from the study will inform further adaptations as we move the program from pilot stages to a larger rollout, with better insights of newcomer relevant practices, and as we inform the implementation of trauma-sensitive sport programs from similar youth-serving organizations. Thank you for listening, and if you want to learn more, feel free to contact me.